Good evening. This is Pastor Bill from Faith Church with our Thursday evening installment of Parables and Proverbs. As today is the 11th of the month, we'll go to the 11th chapter of Solomon's Book of Wisdom and see if we can divine from there something that will help us today. Every verse of chapter 11 contains something really good. A few of the verses are tied together, but most of them stand on their own. Tonight's proverb is this: a man void of wisdom despises his neighbor, but a man of understanding holds his peace. Jesus said there are two great commandments in the law: to love the Lord our God with all of our heart and soul and mind and strength, and then to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. St. John repeats that. A new commandment I give to you, but not a new commandment. The command is that you love one another. Solomon warns about despising our neighbors, and he says a man or a woman who does so is a man who has no understanding. Now it is, of course, understanding, wisdom, discretion, that all are the hallmarks, that are the virtues that are elevated in the book of Proverbs, virtues that we are to pursue, that we are to live out, virtues by which we are to be known. A man who despises his neighbor is missing the virtue of wisdom. Again, the beloved disciple, St. John, says to us, if a man says he loves God but hates his brother, this just doesn't add up. For how can he hate his brother who he has seen, and yet say he loves God whom he has not seen? We are told to love others as we love ourselves, to love our neighbors, even if our neighbors are our enemies. Love your enemies, Jesus said. Love them. Bless them that curse you. Pray for them that use you spitefully. This is not an easy commandment. It is not an easy task. All of us know what it's like to reach out and, so to speak, smack somebody back when they smack us first. If they fire off something at us, and we fire off something right back, rarely without even giving it a thought. But Solomon says this: a man of understanding holds his peace. So in this proverb, despising our neighbor really has everything to do with how we talk to them and how we talk about them. Maybe there are things we don't like. Chances are there are plenty of things they don't like about us either. It is love that covers a multitude of sins. And later on in this chapter, we find the phrase, he that winneth souls is wise. We're in a time when debate is raging about neighborliness, about who we love and who we don't, who deserves it and who doesn't, the color of their skin, what they believe. Their character rarely comes into play. But we're told to do this: love our neighbor as we love ourselves. If we claim to love God, then we must love our brothers also. And when it comes to loving them, Solomon says explicitly, this deals with how we talk to them and about them. A man of wisdom will hold his peace, because love does cover a multitude of sins. As we are instructed to emulate the great virtues of the book of Proverbs, so we are here given a very concrete example of what it means to be wise, to be sure that the love we profess for God we share to those who are round about us. That we remember that if we want to be forgiven, we must forgive others their trespasses against us. Much of the modern debate is based in the fact that neither side wants to forgive the other for anything. And yet, without the virtue of forgiveness, Jesus said we can't expect to be forgiven by our Father who is in heaven. Those are pretty serious words. May God then give us grace to be humble and meek, forgiving remembering the words of St. Paul. Be ye kind one to another, of tender heart, forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sake hath forgiven you. Do you want to see peace between the nations and between the races and between neighbors? It begins with me being forgiving and praying for those that it may seem would use me spitefully, would curse me behind my back, and maybe even outright hate me. We should not be surprised. They hated Christ, in whom there was nothing to be hated. But let us emulate him, remembering his phrase upon the cross, Father, forgive them. Until next time, may God give you grace and wisdom to love your neighbor.